All right, another video. So just in case you're wondering, how did Adrian suddenly have so much time to make all these videos? Well, I actually don't. I just had to schedule it in for two reasons. Some of you may know Mike tore his calf when he was doing a pickup for the store, and he's laid up for a little while. Hopefully he's able to come back sometime next week. If nothing else, just sit around and we can just shoot the breeze together. I miss his wonderful personality, his optimism, and his sense of humor. He's just wonderful. And then, of course, because we're one person down, Lewis has been holding the fort down. God bless Lewis. I don't know what I'd do without him. And so that frees me up to do the stuff that I do, and because of that, I didn't want to not have any videos out, and partly because Allison kicks my butt when we don't do videos because she doesn't get paid. Everybody say hi, Allison. She gets paid for editing the videos, and so she should. So that's why we're doing these videos. Okay, so this is an interesting topic. Over the years, I've had a number of clients say to me, oh, it must be so wonderful to work in this kind of an industry where you love what you do. And of course, I always say, yes, I'm the luckiest guy in the world when it comes to a career. Now, I think of my older brother, Daniel, who graduated university right around the same time as I did and immediately got drafted by IBM. IBM wouldn't even look at me. That tells you how smart I am relative to him. And over the years, he would constantly talk about how stressful it was at IBM. He just retired 3 years ago. And now he's living the life. I mean, he's been to over 20 countries just in the last 3 or 4 years. He goes anywhere he wants, just picks up and he leaves. It's just wonderful. And meanwhile, I'm slaving. So the title of this video is, So You Want to Be an Audio Dealer. So let me talk about the pros and cons. Let me start with a statement I made many years ago to some people I knew. You know, a little quiz. How do you make $1 million as a high-end audio dealer? You start with 2. In other words, you're going to lose money. Most people who've gone into this industry have lost money. Now, to be fair, statistics tells us that most businesses, I think something over 90% of small businesses fail within the first year. And then the ones that stay in business, most of them will fail over the next 5 years. So the statistics are not good. But there are reasons for that, which I'll get into and share with you some thoughts if you really want to continue. When I was bitten by the audio bug in the 80s, there were lots of audio stores, from selling regular products all the way up to some pretty esoteric products. There weren't a lot of very expensive products back then because, frankly, there weren't a lot of expensive products back then, relatively speaking. I mean, the most expensive speaker at the time was both the Wilson Wham and the Infinity IRSs. And the IRSs were approximately, I want to say about 80,000 Canadian back in the mid-80s, IRS 5s. I mean, that's a lot of money still to this day. But relatively speaking, you know, it's not crazy anymore. The one thing I do know during that time in the 70s, 80s, and up to the early 90s, and probably still to this day, but to a lesser degree. Back then, the typical teenager / early 20-something male had essentially 3 goals in mind. Number 1, get out of the house as quickly as possible. Find your own place, number 1. Number 2, get a car, because that meant independence. Number 3, get a stereo system. Why? Because all of those things allowed you to be able to start dating and hopefully be able to entertain at home. And those were the primary reasons. And those of you who are my age will probably agree if you're very honest with yourself. Today, the audio scene is much more different. The younger generation, I think of my kids, I think of Allison, don't think of an audio system at all. Far from being a need or necessity at all. Whereas for us, this was absolutely necessary. How else would you listen to a stereo system? Today's teens and younger generation have their iPads, iPhones, YouTube, computer. They listen to their music through their earbuds. There's no need for an audio system. So the industry is not necessarily growing. So be careful with that if you want to be an audio dealer. The other thing is that the older generation, people of my age or older or even a little bit younger than me, when you get to this particular time of your life, you have a lot more responsibilities, a lot more costs. You have a mortgage, you have loans, car loans, you may have college tuition to pay for your kids, vacations, other interests. And suddenly you might be making a lot of money, but suddenly your disposable income is substantially reduced. And it might be many, many, many years before you finally can get back to this particular hobby. And then the other side of it is that the cost of high-end today is high. Yes, there's great value out there, no doubt. PS Audio makes some great value. Name still makes some great value. Peachtree, Hagel. But the stuff that we aspire to, the stuff that is aspirational, yeah, it's expensive. So that's the backdrop. So let me talk about the pros and the cons. So if you really want to be an audio dealer, these are some of the pros. You do get to do what you love. Assuming that this is an industry and a hobby and a passion that you have, absolutely, it is fantastic. I can't think of anything better. I can't think of anything I'd rather do, to be honest. And I'm fortunate in that I know clients from all kinds of different industries. This client of mine that I'm thinking of, Paul, he and I text back and forth all the time. And one of the jokes that we have is that, oh man, I have this huge business that I run, but who the hell needs toilets? Everybody needs toilets, he says. But, I bet you it's a lot more fun working in your industry. And he's absolutely right. I can't imagine getting up and putting the amount of hours that I do every day, basically just to make a living. That's me. I'm not making any judgments. That's just me. You get to meet wonderful people who share the same interests. So you get to be able to share time with them, talk about music, talk about equipment, gossip about the industry, oh, that reviewer, he's great. Oh, this reviewer sucks. He's deaf. I don't know why, and you get to do all of that, and it's fun, right? Do it over a cup of coffee, and every so often, if the person shares the same interests as I do, we go into my office, lock the door, and we share a cigar. I mean, it's a lot of fun. What else this is an industry that you can do that. You get paid to have fun. You get to hear a lot of other stuff when you go to shows or you visit your clients. People bring stuff in, or you bring your stuff over. It's a lot of fun. You get to experience all these different things. As I said, you get to go to shows and see a lot of neat stuff. Back before, it was more exclusive in the sense of shows, dealer shows, I mean. Back when CES in Las Vegas was a thing, every year in January, we'd go down to Las Vegas, and it was a dealer-only show. So you get to see stuff that manufacturers were producing for the next sales cycle, and you get to see it all first. You place your orders if you're interested, and so on. Today, those kinds of dealer shows don't really exist except for maybe in Munich and a couple of other isolated places. And it's more dealer events for consumers to come in, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that it's a slightly different kind of environment. But you still get to see all this stuff, which is fun. And then the other pro, just to wrap that part up, is maybe if you're lucky enough and you know what you're doing, you might make some money. You might make some money to justify the time and the investment that you put into the business. Okay, let's talk about the cons. If you do it the way that I do it, and not everybody does, but the successful ones I think do, you put in a lot of long hours, A lot of long hours, because it's a service industry. You can't just show up whenever you want to. People are going to show up at your door. If you're not open, they're going to be ticked off, and they're not going to show up the next time. It's hard to take a vacation. I can't think of a vacation. That's just me, right? I can't think of a vacation. My vacation is when I go to do jobs overseas, or if I go to a show overseas, I'll take an extra day or 2 days. That's it. That's a vacation. I've never been on a real vacation. Now, you don't have to cry for me. That's my life. That's how I chose it. Like any business that you start, there's a lot of stress, and you have to be prepared for it. It's not like the kind of stress that you have at a work if you're working as an employee. As an employee, for the most part, you show up. There's work stress, but then when you knock off, you knock off. You know, the very few that continue to think about work, those are a small portion. Whereas if this is your own business, you never stop thinking. You're always thinking about challenges that you have to deal with, things that you have to take care of, clients that you have to talk to, and so on and so forth. It's not the same. The other thing you have to stress about, do you have enough inventory? Do you have enough variety of displays to make sure that when a person wants to come and visit, that they're able to compare things? Otherwise, if you only have the one thing, and they might even like it, but it's natural for that person to say, well, I'd like to compare it to something else, just to make sure I'm not making a mistake. So you have to make sure that you have, these are the things that you think about. Another con, not something to think about, not so much a con, but something to think about. Are you prepared to give up this passion that you have, this hobby of yours, if it becomes a business? And what I mean by that is that for many people at some point, this passion disappears and it becomes basically a job because all the fun is gone. Okay, so it can suck you dry. So again, be very careful. I can say honestly that it's come close for me a couple times, but thank God I've never been completely been sucked dry. And if anything, today I am even more passionate about what I do. Are you truly a people person? Again, not so much a con, but something to think about. You have to be. You're dealing with people, whether it's on the internet, so it's indirect, or face-to-face. You have to be a people person. And people are different. Some people are very, very wonderful and easy to deal with. And you wish every one of the people around you, every one of your clients, every one of your family members, it happens to be like that. And then the vast majority of people are normal. Normal comes with all the pros and cons. And then, like any bell curve, some are tough. Some are tough. And you have to be aware that, especially in the start, you may have to deal with every one of them because you don't have a choice to pick and choose and say, I don't want to deal with you, I want to deal only with you. And if you're not a people person, be aware of your strengths and then hire around that, so to speak. Are you patient? You're going to need a lot of patience. Patience not just with the business, growing it and so on, but patience with potential clients, because clients will have lots of questions. And you have the time and the patience to answer those questions, understanding that there's no guarantee that just because you believe it's the right product for them, the right solution, that they will agree. There's no guarantee that they will buy from you, even if they agree. You've done the best demonstration possible, and they tell you point blank, this is stunning, this is it, I love it, that's the top, I will buy these. And then you find out later that he doesn't buy from you, that they'll buy something else or the same product from an internet dealer or a used one. So you've just spent time that you will never be able to get back. I mean, again, this whole saying about, time is money. Time is not money. Time cannot be bought. So again, you have to think about whether or not you're a patient kind of guy. Okay, competition. And again, competition is not just from other dealers, whether they're selling the same product or a competing product. Competition from other things that the person could buy. a car, a bike, watches, vacations, another home, all these kinds of things. Just be aware, again, just because you are highly invested because of your passion does not mean that everybody else is the same. And then finally, the other thing to think about is it's a very small niche business. This is not a business that can easily scale and get all sorts of new people coming into the industry, especially if you're specifically thinking about the high end. It's a very small industry, and so you have to be prepared for that. There will be months that you might feast, and then there'll be months where you're going to get skinny, very, very skinny, like Ellison. So these are some of the pros and cons. Think long and hard, and then think again. And then if you think, yes, I want to do this, go talk to your significant other, tell them to slap you in the face and say, what are you, stupid? But if you still decide that you want to go ahead and do this, let me give you some suggestions. Number one, take some courses, basic training in accounting, in business management, marketing, very important, and sales. Now, you don't have to actually go and do something formal. You can learn all these things by watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts, downloading books. You can do all of that in your spare time, but make sure you have some basic training in these things. They will help you and save you a ton of grief and money, I promise you. Another thing, and the last thing that I would suggest to you is immediately go and download the book called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. One of the best business books for somebody who's thinking about starting up a small business. You really, really, really should read this book. All right, that's my little a public service announcement, if you will. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you don't, that's okay. Again, I got lots of patience. Put your comments below. I'd love to see what you think. Thoughts, if you run your own business, other kinds of business, and if you work in a business of some sort, let's share. Let's build a community and let's have some fun. All right, thanks. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.